put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Maria Richardson George, and this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning to Tobago, good morning Trinidad, those of you viewing in the Caribbean, and those of you on the live, good morning to you. How are you doing today, Julian?
Yes, quite good indeed. The Heritage Festival is on the way. Yesterday would have been the Pembroke Salaka Feast, and no, I wasn't able to make it, but certainly able to follow it on the line.
Oh.
And from all indications, an excellent execution, and certainly always an opportunity for those who reside in the area, in and around on the eastern side, really coming out and representing. I am always very pleased, especially at this time, to see the further integration of young people, a clear indication that there is that transition taking place.
All right, there is continuity.
Definitely. All right, viewers, at this point, we head on over to News in 90 Seconds.
The News in 90 Seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Thank you, Rhea and Julian. I am Bianna Brebner, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Thursday, 27 July 2023. The Tobago House of Assembly is seeking clearance to complete the Shirvan-Storby Local Connector Road in Friendship Estate. The court granted the Environment Management Agency an injunction to stop the construction of the road due to concerns by the The court granted the Environment Management Agency an injunction to stop the construction of the road due to concerns about the Certificate of Environmental Clearance. The THA's attorney Larry Lala, SC, informed Justice Frank C. Prasad that the CEC application was submitted on July 17th. They are now awaiting EMA's approval to allow them to continue. The project is 90% complete, and it consists of a 2.5-kilometer single carriageway, 2 roundabouts, and a drainage system. Former Calypsonian monarch Denise Plummer is alive and well, despite inaccurate reports and social media rumors. Her son Jesse Bucock confirmed her well-being and expressed disappointment with the media for spreading false information without verification from the family. Plummer is battling stage 4 cancer and undergoing treatment. The Maldives will no longer compete in the Commonwealth Youth Games, which will be held from August 4 to 11, 2023 in Trinidad and Tobago. This was revealed on Monday night by the country's Olympic Committee via a Facebook post calling the announcement regretful. The post said the country would no longer be participating due to financial constraints faced by the government and the Olympic Committee. However, to maintain the country's sporting supremacy, the committee is committed to developing and supporting local athletes. Therefore, they will instead focus on the 2023 Indian Ocean Island Games. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Welcome back, viewers, and we head straight on into our birthday segment, sponsored by KFC.
This is your birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
Hey, Julian.
Yes, a very, very good friend out there, Cassie Hosang, and she's celebrating her birthday today. I want to wish you a happy birthday, and indeed God's continued blessings. As you continue to grow from strength to strength, we're saying happy birthday coming out from the entire Tobago Updates family.
We should sing here, but... All right, and we have another birthday celebration going out to Andrea Bonus. Happy birthday going out to you, Andrea. Trust that you have a great one, and lots of love from all of us here at Tobago Updates.
Birthday shout outs to Rory Dillon. wishing you God's continued blessings. Happy birthday coming from the entire Tobago Updates family.
Moylan Williams, happy birthday going out to you. Smile today, Moylan. It's a good day to be alive.
My
happy
very
birthday.
good friend out there, very good friend Moylan Williams. Want to wish you a happy birthday. Let's hope she's spending that day taking a little time out from a hectic work schedule.
That's right. We've also got my nephew here, Danae Saul. Happy birthday going out to you, Danae, from Uncle Oswald and Auntie Rhea, the entire family. I love going out to you and from all of us here at Tobago Updates. Dr. Verlene Bob Lewis
certainly has made her contribution here on the island of Tobago
and continues to
respond when called upon. Dr. Verlene Bob Lewis, we want to take this time out to wish you a happy birthday, and indeed we trust that you enjoy the celebrations coming from the entire Tobago Updates family.
And this is my sister and friend out there, Shelley Clark Bob. Roots from Buku, right? Living on the outskirts of Scarborough now. Happy birthday going out to you, Shelley. And lots of love from my family to you and from all of us here at Tobago Updates. Blame Shadi for this. Love going out to you, Shelley.
Birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
Hey viewers, welcome back this morning. Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. Julian, it's just about that time to let our viewers know what's coming up on the program this morning.
Yes, certainly, Rhea. Go right ahead. Tell us who do we have on the rundown this morning?
All right, we're going to start things off this morning talking about the Rum Shop Lime. And who better to chat with us than Mr. Gilbert Happy O'Connor. And that O'Connor name, Julian.
From where I said that would be Uncle Gilbert.
That's right.
All right. Certainly this morning we look forward to those discussions. We'll also have coming up in the discussions, we're speaking about the start of the new Rotary year 2023-2024, and we have the opportunity this morning to be speaking with the Secretary of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, Anisha Karut Walcott, and the President of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, Anne-Marie Davis. So we look forward to those discussions as we speak about the work of the NGO Rotary and its connections to Rotary International.
All right, and then we're going to be wrapping things up this morning, chatting with the lady herself. In fact, she is the Lady Montano, Elizabeth Lady Montano, the author, the King of Soca. And it's all about the King of Soca Book Fest winner. She'll tell us more about it.
All right, so we look forward to those upcoming discussions this morning. And yes, folks, it is Thursday, the 27th of July. Rhea, that's also, historic.
Yes.
Historic at that. At that time, I was really baby. But I've read and I've learned about and understood how significant a time that was in our history. And for those who may be wondering, that would have been the attempted coup of 1990 that took place on the 27th of July.
That's right. Even as you mentioned there that you were a baby. I won't say how old I was. I won't say what school I was attending because that'll certainly give things away. But certainly I was not a baby. And I do recall the events of that fateful Friday afternoon, the phone calls that were coming in. Back then there were no cell phones. It was landlines. My aunt was in Port of Spain. And I remember her calling my mother and saying, Joan, you'll have to hear what, let me see what's going on. Police and soldiers, big uproar in Port of Spain today. But anyway, I headed home. Wait, it's gunshots are hearing, and we're hearing all of this over the telephone. But again, we take the opportunity this morning to recognize those lives that were lost during that time, as well as those who went through that ordeal, for us to be able to walk freely today, Julian, and certainly those who survived, those who went through and survived.
Certainly a very challenging time in our history in Trinidad and Tobago. All right, viewers, at this point we head straight on over to Tobago in Focus.
One of the major learning curves encountered during the COVID-19 pandemic was the increased use of innovation and technology to conduct daily functions. This major hurdle affected the country's education sector tremendously, with teachers, students, and parents having to quickly find ways to continue teaching and learning using these means. Post-pandemic, the Division of Education, Research and Technology is finding ways to integrate online and in-person learning and teaching, thus establishing the Hybrid Education Committee.
A committee was put together, made up of persons within the Division of Education, principals, parents, etc., a large, varied stakeholder group, and we are working towards developing a very pragmatic policy guideline to help us to utilize all of the positive things that we got through the pandemic, along with our face-to-face.
This new initiative seeks to reduce teaching and learning loss due to several factors, such as unpredictable weather patterns or another pandemic situation. From early childhood to tertiary level education are represented on the committee, with multi-departmental input and expertise from the division. Technical advisor from DIRTEC, Natasha Second, assured that this initiative is not just another talk shop, and the committee is well on its way to fulfill a seamless integration among all educational institutions on the island.
We wanted to look at all of the challenges and place a solution for each of them. So the guideline or the policy guidelines will meet all of the challenges that we could perceive of.
Ms. Second revealed that the committee, formed in April 2023, has a 6-month implementation deadline, which will include a pilot project in selected schools and the delivery of the completed policy and guidelines.
Viewers, welcome back this morning to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. This morning, viewers, we're still talking about the Tobago Heritage Experience or Heritage Festival 2023. And our focus this morning is on the Rum Shop Lime. And here to chat with us on what's coming up, what will be happening tomorrow, is Mr. Gilbert Happy O'Connor, according to Julian, Uncle Gilbert. All right? And he is the cultural officer attached to the Division of Tourism and Culture.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
I'm retired now, but they pulled me out of retirement too.
To do some work. All right. He's been pulled out of retirement. Good, good. That's right. My former employer used to say the best reward for good work is more work. Right? All right. So tell us, we're talking this morning about the Rum Shop Lime. Give us a little history into this particular event within the Heritage Festival's calendar.
Now, traditionally, and good morning to Tobago, good morning to the wider world, good morning to Ria, welcome. It's a pleasure being here.
Always.
Traditionally, the rum shops were like the first community centers in the island. And almost everything went on at the rum shop. And it was common to see a professor or a learned person sharing a drink with a vagrant or lesser mortal.
At the rum shop?
At the rum shop. It was a stage for equalizing. It was a place for sharing knowledge. It was a place where artists came with their skills and, tried it out. Because I said it was the first community center. The paymaster would have been conducting paying sessions at the rum shop. The police would come to the rum shop to do investigations accordingly. So the rum shop was a hub of activity. And around the rum shop was a lot of business entrepreneurs, the pudding vendor, the sauce vendor, anybody who had anything of sort, because everyone accumulated there. Women waited by the rum shop on payday to collect the monies from their husbands and give them sufficient so they can feel like a man, but they would not have the opportunity to fritter it all away.
To spend it all away at the rum shop.
And that's the tradition of the rum shop. Good.
Yeah.
And we try to keep up the traditions. Well, I do, in my presentation, I'll have some modification.
Right.
You know, I call it putting old wine into new bottles. Yeah.
I love it. Putting old wine into new bottles.
Yeah.
In terms of the conversation, because you said it was a combination of everyone, the learned person, the lesser mortal, the husband, the boyfriend,
Yeah.
What sort of conversations came out of or discussions came out of the rum shop line?
All kinds of discussion. Sometimes somebody wants to go for a job, and the learned man, ex-school teacher or practicing school teacher or lawyer, would coach the individual as how to face the the interviews. A man wants to write home for a child, for a girlfriend,
right?
And he gets all the big words from the professor who helps him to write those letters. Latest gossip and everything. Today we have Facebook and all kind of things.
So there's no need.
You understand? And that's, I have a little thing I've written here about the rum shop, which I say, this year it's going to be alcohol personified. The alcohol takes on a human form in the form of Professor Johnny Walker, Dame Carmen Jones. For those who don't know, Carmen Jones is the slang name for Fernanda's Black Label.
Well, go ahead.
And then later on, when Brian Lara scored his mammoth set of runs because of the initials BL, they started calling the rum Brian Lara.
Okay.
So when you hear people talk about Carmen Jones and Brian Lara in rum shop setting, it's the same Fernanda's Black Label they're talking about. And of course, you will have the black and white or the double dog Kaiso crew, which represents the black and white whiskey. And the job as of alcohol is to trigger emotions, stimulate minds, loosen tongues, and encourage conversations and debates as the case might be. And this is what the crew will be doing, the alcohol personified in this year's rum shop, which is in 2 phases.
Okay, and you'll tell us about the 2 phases. Now, I want to talk about what we have on the table this morning, which is that pack of cards. And what is...
This is corn. This is roast corn.
Okay, tell us about the roast corn.
So this is phase 1. Because what we have decided to do, the coordinators, which Annette Alfred is the next coordinator, but me and Annette go way back, is to do a thing called gamification of culture.
Gamification of culture.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us about that.
It's a technique that is a model used like in the museums, where it's serious play, light-hearted exchange, light-hearted passing on of, knowledge, information, as the case might be. And we've turned this thing into a game setting. Because when we looked at the calendar, there were no games that people play. There were no wake and bongo. And I said, wonderful opportunity. Let's create something that could incorporate games and wake and bongo. So in the gamification model where you have challenges and rewards, the corn comes into play because on many a moonlight night or nights without moon, before the days of television
and cable,
we would have had our roast corn, eating and playing a game called Ship Sail.
Sail fast.
How many men on deck?
4.
Right, and if you so you give me 4 corn grains.
Ooh.
So in the phase 1 in the rum shop, the professor plays Ship Sail in order to arrive at the competitor to face the challenge.
And the winner would be?
You come up and you face your challenge, which is a question. It might be a question, or it might be a riddle, or something to solve. Right. Let's say the old-time wedding is the following day. So we may have a question. What is the significance of the breadfruit in the wedding? right? If you answer correctly,
Uh-huh.
then you'll get a reward. So we have giveaways here, we have rewards for you. If you cannot answer correctly, then someone else could answer and share your reward with you. And that's how the interaction goes. And then we have songs in between from the Double Door Calypso crew, because they may want to, have you ever studied how some young girls get married? They just think of all kind of things when they want a ring. They would sit down and draft up a plan how to trap a man. Last week I see Elsie giving she man Alexander this recipe. She boiled she petticoat in a pan of water. And that kind of
You shouldn't even stop. You shouldn't
and she
even
put
stop.
in she bra half an hour after. She sweet meat with honey and add some red lavender. And in 9 days' time, she was Mrs. Alexander. And, you know, that's the sort of interactions we will have in the rum shop.
Yes.
And we start at Young Cow in the east, spend about 20, 30 minutes there with that gamification model in the rum shop. And then we move on to the other two rum shops. So we're doing bar hopping, going down the road, stop by Dutch Fort, spend some time there. Then into the Esplanade, then down to Barcode and the last bar. All those things happen between the hours of 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
All right.
And that's the first phase. Then we go back now into the Esplanade for the second phase.
Which is?
And in the second phase, we'll be celebrating past life and present existence. We'll be celebrating the past life of a gambler called Boykin. He was a limer. He was a rummist. He was a gruggist. He was everything in every harvest, every wake, anything you had. Boykin was there, but his weakness was the cards. Happened as Boykin passed. So they celebrate the life of Boykin. Poor Boykin, we couldn't get him to keep the memorial in the Shaw Park Cultural Complex because Boykin didn't reach up there.
Right.
So we got the Esplanade, which is on the site of that famous bathing spot for the local natives. Some people call it Cheapside, but they had another name for it. If you remember what
I
they call
do.
it. Yeah. So where the Esplanade now, that was that famous bay for the Negroes.
That's
You
right.
understand?
And back then we called it as it was. It was Niggers Bay.
Right, so Boykin celebrated in Niggers Bay in the Esplanade. And the folks come singing, Boykin dead, Boykin gone. Where my brother Boykin gambling, cause the boy to go to the cemetery. Is the Romy and the Wappy that make him lose his money? Gambling, cause the boy to go to the cemetery. And the cards will rule the night. Because there are people who come into the Esplanade or come to the Weekend Bongo, not the Weekend Bongo, they go to Weekend Bongo, but they come to the rum shop to Mako. But this time,
To get these stories.
we gonna stimulate your mind. We gonna loosen your tongue. And we're gonna get you to get involved. We can get you to do more things than Mako. And these cards will hold your future as you get in. Because through these cards, we would have our challenges and our rewards. And that's celebrating the past life of Boykin. And we celebrate present life because on Saturday, the following day, the 29th of July, is the birthday of Papa Nello, Lord Nelson. And he's going to be having pride of place in the celebrations. So those are the sort of things we're going to have, and everything will revolve around that. There'll be lots of challenges in the rum shop on that night. There'll be bongo challenges. There'll be questions concerning the bongo. We had a bongo king in Tobago from what called Hall. There's a man who used to sell Morby. And when he selling the Morby, he said, tell the boys. We are good Morby.
Was that a lick of the...
He was licking the hand.
That's right.
A young boy came, a schoolboy came for a 4-cent Morby. But Jeremy, he always talking and thing, So give me a 4-cent Morby. He didn't hear him too well. He put the Morby in a 6-cent glass and passed it over. But when he check the money, he say, 4 cents, 6 cents, take back the money, drink off penny. That was our bongo cake. All these little stories will come out. We tell you what happens to the bongo, what happens in situations of death, how they treated death. So it would be that sort of mixture. And we in for a wonderful time. It would be different to the usual run-of-the-mill things. But we put in old wine
into new
bottles.
Got it. We got it loud and clear. Now, when is all of this happening?
When is this? All this is on the 28th, which is Friday. Tomorrow, Friday. From 3 to 7, we bar hopping from Young Cow down the road. Good. Young Cow to Dutch Fort, to the Esplanade, to David by Barcode, to the Jamaican just before Coast Guard. And we back to start at 7 in the Esplanade. We're going to have steel band in the pre-entertainment. We're going to have some other cultural items. And then we get into the discourse between Professor Johnny Walker, whether it's black, red, or blue, or swing. But Professor Johnny Walker will be there. Dame Carmen Jones and the black and white, Kaiso crew, the double dog Kaiso crew. We're going to be there.
Is there a cost to this event?
No, it's free. But
so this is come and be a part of
and be a part of the experience. Come and be a part of the experience. And as we mentioned that, there's some folks that would have embraced the whole idea. Because coming out of the bar hopping, I'm hoping that we can have, emerging from this, a hospitality alliance where the business spaces in Scarborough, all the rum shops and bars and stuff, they come together and they, strength in numbers. When spiders unite, no elephant or tiger could beat them, right? And we have some guys who jump at the opportunity. People like David Maraj at Barcode, stay happier with you. Support from David. Dominic Oatley, happier with you. Support. Junior Francis from the Esplanade, Bayside and Institute of Marine Affairs, happy with you. Sco from up that high moor, Christopher Sco Roberts, happy with you. And and that is the beginning. And these are the sorts of things. Become a tongue boy. I mean, as a cultural officer, I would have been ranging about the place. I would have been supporting people in the West and helping them to put their model together. Right? Which some people say, happy, did you help them mash up the Juve tongue, Well, well, I'm going to help them bring it back with this workshop and get the fellas that they're unified. And they have confidence and trust in me. And as long as I am alive,
you will deliver.
I will deliver. My strength is feeling faster. The seeking to his men. I shall never sail the sea like a conqueror again, but ere while a drop remains of the lifeblood in my veins. Raise me from the dead. Put my crown upon my head and put my good sword in my hand and lead me to the strand where my ship at anchor rides steadily. It sounds like a rubber speech, yeah? So in the inside, when we do the carnival challenge, there'll be an opportunity for people to do rubber speech. There'll be an opportunity for them
to be won.
Yes, little giveaways. Yes. Giveaways, cultural giveaways, cultural products, those kind of things. A token of appreciation. Yes. Do your speech band. Walk with your comb, even if we're not something in the challenge for you, and you could come and demonstrate something. Walk with your comb and your silver paper or your little
and
bit.
Do a thing.
And do a thing. If you're walking, but the other fellas walk about with an iron in a bag, walk with knock it. You walk with your motor organ. I have my motor organ in my pocket too. Yeah.
You still have it?
Yeah, I play my motor organ since I was little. I don't give up with this.
Viewers, we're getting ready to wrap up here, but Happy is going to be taking us out to the break. Yes, we thank you so much, Gilbert O'Connor. It is the Rum Shop Lime that's taking place tomorrow from 3 o'clock. You want to be a part? Play Happy Play. Play Happy Play. Viewers, even as we share the light. We share the light. Share the light.
Boykin dead, Boykin gone. Where my brother Boykin? Find me on the Esplanade tomorrow night. You go hear what happened to Boykin and the cards he loved.
Definitely. Yeah. Share the live. Share the live. Share the live.
All are we and all are who we be.
to Tobago.
Indulge in the awesomeness that is embodied in the spirit of Tobago at the 36th Tobago Heritage Festival. Celebrate a rich, vibrant, hypnotic showcase of our cultural legacy. Yes, from July 21st to August 1st, 2023. Take the island tour. Sample the sumptuous variety of local indigenous delicacies. Enjoy the recreation of old-time village life. Dance to the drum. Feel the rhythm of steel pan. Experience the way of life, languages, and oral traditions. Be part of the journey to our we heritage, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and inspiring our future. Relive our unique culture. Join in the preservation of the heritage of we island of Tobago.
Summerama, real steam for the summer standard. Is a dream for the summer. Dreamy, steamy. Price, it nice.
Are you flood ready? Review and update insurance coverage. Install floodgates and barriers. Create a family flood plan. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATIL, where people are people.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience, offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Tapicom. Welcome to the future. The only card you will need in a new world. Digital business cards. Safe, hassle-free. The future is here. Tapicom. New generation digital transfer. Digital time clock cards. Digital attendance cards. Air tags. Customized designs. Digital clothing tags. Digital pet tags. Tapicom. The future is here. Contact us today.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:39 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. And in this segment, we have the opportunity to be chatting as we speak the new Rotary year 2023-2024. And we have on set with us President of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, Anne-Marie Davis, and Secretary of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, Anisha Caruth Walcott. Good morning to you all and welcome.
Good morning.
All right, and viewers, if you know me any at all, you know that Rotary is near and dear to my heart. Also serving in the organization as Assistant Governor. And this morning we're having a conversation as we speak Rotary International. We speak about the start of the new year. So let's start off from there, chatting with our President Anne-Marie. We've got the start of the new year. What team are we working under for this new year?
Okay, good morning to everyone. Good morning to the listening audience. The theme for this year is Create Hope in the World, and I think it's very relevant in this time due to the fact that so many people are feeling hopeless due to, maybe the effect of the pandemic, due to family situations, financial stress, and all of that. So we as Rotarians, we want to see if we can engender hope in individuals in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. Tell us about the experience thus far, having taken on the president's responsibility. Handing over took place and so on, and now wearing the medallion that takes that role and the leadership for the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago.
It has been so far good, I must say. It's a lot of work, and it entails a lot of planning and organization. You have to be organized in order to take on a role of, such a magnitude. And I have a wonderful team working with me, so that makes my job so much easier. I have a very efficient secretary, the person of Anisha, sitting next to me. And I also have other dedicated board members who do what is expected of them and who perform their roles and functions very efficiently. So far, knock on wood, no problems.
All right. And Anisha, tell us a little bit from where you sit. I know you've been a member of the Rotary Club and now taking on this role as secretary.
Well, the good thing is that I got my duties were handed over from president. She was a very efficient secretary, and I know she would make a very efficient president as well. She has been very, what should I say? The role has been quite demanding, balancing with studies, work, but I have taken on the responsibility. It entails, making sure that, you keep proper records of the minutes, membership. The members are always up to date. And it was sort of a smooth transition. What also prepared me for this role is, attending that conference that we recently attended in April, the PETS conference. That really opened up my eyes in terms of preparing myself as a secretary for the Rotary Club of Tobago, Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, I should say.
All right. And looking at the district conference, that would have been the recently held district conference in Grenada. Tell us a little bit about that experience, President Anne-Marie.
Okay, well, just like Anisha, it really has been an eye-opener because, all the time you'd hear people say, you must attend conference, you must attend conference. But it's only when you actually go, you realize, you meet with people who have of the same mindset like yourself, people who are driven for the cause of Rotary and people who are committed to the cause. So it was really, really inspiring for me. It really, really gave me the impetus I need to go into my role as president. I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to have gone.
All right, so let's dive on into some of the plans for this Rotary year on the part of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago.
Okay, well, first of all, we'll be starting off the year we have already started the year. It began on the 1st of July and it ends on the 30th of June next year. But I think it's very important that we start the year with prayer. So we're going to have a church service this coming Sunday, the 30th. It will be at the Methodist Church at 9 a.m. And due to the fact that that day, the 30th of July, is also International Day of Friendship, we have kind of thrown open the doors and invited our other Rotary family on the island. So we expect to have persons from the Interact Club of Southwest Tobago, Rotary Club of Tobago, as well as Rotary Club of Tobago. So we'll be all converging on the Methodist Church. I want to say thank you to them to opening the church to us. So we go there, and after we are going to have a lunch where, everybody will come together and just enjoy each other's company, share ideas, bounce off, plans, projects, that sort of thing. Yes.
All right.
So we're going to do that. Apart from that, when we move into now each month in Rotary, the Rotary has a Rotary calendar. Let me put it this way. So each month we have a specific theme. So after that, in July, we have August, which is really membership month. So the people in the membership committee have to plan an activity whereby we'll try and see if we can get new members on board. We move into September, which is Basic Literacy and Education Month. Here we have our Back to School project, which will take place. We'll be distributing book bags to needy persons in the community. But this time I want to try and see if we can have a little community impact, because that's one of the kind of thrusts, one of the thrusts of Rotary International, to have community impact. So we'll try and see if we can give our book bags to a specific class in a specific school, and we're going to try and see if we can adopt that school and work with them for the entire year. So at the end of the year, we'll be able to measure and see, did we have any impact on these children? You know, have we been able to move them from point A to point B, or are they still at point E? I do hope we would have been able to move them. Yes.
All right. What would you say is one of the projects, based on your time within Rotary to date, one of those annual projects or initiatives that you look forward to? Anisha?
Oh, okay. Well, for me, I actually look forward to the Christmas drive, the Christmas hamper drive, because you have that opportunity to give to the needy as well. We, if we have the opportunity, and what is good about that is that we have the opportunity to have that joint project with the Interact Club of Southwest Tobago. And, you know, Christmas is a time for cheer. You want to spread that cheer to those who really can't afford to have that level of happiness, or spread the level, have that that happiness that others are able to enjoy. So we try to spread that cheer. And, you know, as President would have said, you want to have that community impact as well. So one of those things that I look forward to is that Christmas hamper drive that we do.
All right. So for the benefit of those persons looking on, as I said, we're always hearing about Rotary. And, you know, in Tobago, we have the collective benefit of our Interact Club, which is the Interact Club sponsored by the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago. That caters to students 12 to 18. Rotaract, which caters to 18 and over, and the Rotary Club of Tobago is sponsored by the Rotary Club of Tobago, and then Rotary, representing our professionals in the society. So for persons who may be interested in the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, just give us a reminder, when does the club meet, the times that the club meets and so on, and you know how they can reach out, whether via social media or the means for reaching out to connecting with the club.
Okay, in terms of Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago, our meeting dates are we meet on every Tuesday from 6 to 7, maybe. It may go a little beyond 7, but we try to keep the meetings within an hour. Our office is located at Glen Road in Scarborough. That's Tom's Building, I believe, Tom's Building in Glen Road. We are accessible on social media as well. We are very much alive on Instagram. Our Instagram is Rotary Southwest Tobago. We are alive on Facebook as well, Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago. And if you need to contact any of the members, well, President, myself, or the immediate past President, our numbers are 6769-0299, 290-8987, and 739-2705. So we are very accessible. We are very much alive on social media. And I really want to encourage persons to, you know, to join the club. Sometimes you may say that you don't have time. Yes, we are all very busy. But I think for young persons, it is a rewarding experience. And in terms of those persons who are shy, I actually had that experience with interactor who is a member of our church. She was very shy, very reserved. And she actually joined the Interact Club, and I am amazed to see the progress that young lady has made in her life. She is very much brave, very articulate, and so I really want to encourage young persons. And you know, you have that sense of purpose when you join these Rotary clubs and Interact clubs. You have a sense of pride, and we have so many core values. You know, you have service, you have fellowship, you have diversity, and integrity, leadership. These are some of the qualities that these Rotary clubs instill on persons that join the club. So I encourage persons to come on board.
All right, excellent. So Rotary People of Action. I'll give you an opportunity before we close this morning. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I want to just endorse what Anisha has said. You know, if anybody is willing and wants to give of him or herself, remember it's not a paying job, you're volunteering of your time, your talent, and your treasure, please come on board. You know, we are always welcome. We have our doors open, and we welcome and embrace each and every one. And continue to support us in all our ventures.
And I think some persons don't even realize you've got Rotarians working right where you are. You want to quickly identify the members of your board for this year. Persons may recognize, oh, they sit right with me at work. These are people I can talk to about Rotary. I meet them on the streets.
Okay, we have our membership chair, Ms. Dawn Dempster. We have our youth service officer in the person of A.G. Julian. We also have our IPP, that's our immediate past president in the person of Tracy Osman Ashton. We have our civics project chair, that's Hyacinth Rodriguez. We have our public image person, that's Dexter Trim. What else do we have? We have
That's Maxwell, PP
yes,
Maxwell.
PP Maxwell. He's our club trainer, so he takes us through all the paces of Rotary. Yes, did I leave out
Right, and Rotary Foundation is
Rotary
IPP.
Foundation, yes, it's IPP.
All right, okay, good.
And yours truly, secretary.
Oh, yes, I'm the secretary here. How could I forget that?
Yes, and your
Yes,
president-elect?
And our president-elect, who is Monique Timothy, so she will be the president after me.
All right, excellent. So just a little snippet there, a little touch as we head on into the year, and certainly we'll be hearing from the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago. And I see, in case you're wondering, the connection when I make the reference of sponsor club is that the Rotary Club is responsible for the Interact Club of Southwest Tobago in terms of those 12 to 18. But have no fear, we continue to feature and to highlight the work of our NGOs taking place here in Tobago. And I know that you will certainly give us that commitment to be back with upcoming projects and activities.
Yes, definitely.
All right, thank you very much indeed, President Anne-Marie Davis of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago and Secretary Anisha Karut Walcott of the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago joining us here on set this morning. Give me a little insight as we start the Rotary year, which runs from July to June. So the year would have started as at July 1st and running until the end of June 2024. All right, viewers, thank you so much for the continued love and support and for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. At this point, we're prepared to head on out to a break, but we want to remind you, and I'll get them to join in with me, that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Are you flood ready? Recycle and properly dispose of large waste. Avoid sweeping yard clippings or trash into drains. Plant trees to avoid soil erosion. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATIL, where people are people.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bonaccord, right in Stobie Local Road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, 1/2 inch and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from
Viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, we're heading on in to that final segment for this morning as we prepare, and we should have coming online with us Elizabeth Lady Montano. and the author of The King of Soca. And this morning we're speaking The King of Soca, not just about the book, but the Book Fest winner this morning. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, good morning. It's a pleasure.
All right. So as we get the conversation started, just as a gentle reminder to those who probably would not have tuned in when you visited us before, I want to start by chatting a little bit about, the genesis behind this book in terms of that you would have written.
Well, it started in 2018 or just before 2018. I was doing my degree, my postgraduate degree, my MPhil in cultural studies, and I did this for my thesis or my dissertation, and it was about the making of Monk Monty, which looked at Machell's journey over the various eras, and I decided that I wanted to write this book and share that information of the journey, the ups and downs, the pluses, the minuses, and everything, so that I can show people, especially young people, what it takes to be successful. You don't have to really follow exactly what Machel did, but it is a good guide as to what you can do when you show certain positive work ethics, or when you have certain values that have been put in place and they are manifested. And I did so during the pandemic. I took 2 years and I wrote it, 40 years of Michelle's journey, and I launched it last year in July. As 1 year today.
Yes.
1 year
Correct.
today the book was launched. Yes.
I remember that interview.
Now, Lady Montano, you would be in a very unique position in that you didn't have to go to source information about your topic. You had insight. You were sitting in a seat of privilege where you saw your topic. In fact, you knew your topic from conception to how many years later. What is it about Marshall? And this is not, we don't want you to reveal, hidden secrets here, but what is it about him that one of the myths about him, maybe something that people believe that he is, that he's not, that you were able to reveal in the book?
Well, sometimes people feel that Machel is frivolous, but Machel is very, very serious. People feel that maybe Machel got what he got easily, or maybe as some of them feel through the Soca Mafia. But in the book, we will see how much of that is not the actual truth, and they will also discover what has made Machel the man, the person, the entertainer that he is, and I always tell everybody it's based on that foundation that was laid many years ago.
So this book, after being launched and put out there, has now been able to be the Book Fest winner. Tell us a little bit about that title and being able to attain that.
Well, remember again, a lot of work was put into it, and I use a lot of local people to assist me. So I had Practice, who is the designer or the graphics people behind it, and I had a lot of stuff that was gathered over the years through my archive, 40 years. So we had pictures, we had newspaper articles, we had, so I brought that whole thing to life. And I deliberately chose color because I said we can't tell our stories in black and white. The Caribbean is color. And I think that this is what excited the people when they saw it. And a lot of that is presented in the book, so that we won over maybe hundreds of people entering. And we took part in many categories, and we were finalists. The book was a finalist in 4 categories: in the biography, in the performance in terms of movies and music, in the cover, in cross genre, and we were there among the big publishers. I am self-published, so I think maybe they were motivated by the story, but it was successful in the end, of which I am very thankful.
And what was your general feeling and mood by the time you knew that you were in the category, you knew that you were in the lineup, and when you got that confirmation that the book, yes, it had taken the win, with it? What was the feeling at that moment?
Well, it was one of many wins. It's a big award in terms of there are many people and many categories, right? And I was fortunate to be a finalist in 4 categories, which meant that they took 6 people, and from those 6 people, they chose the winner. And I was there among all those big writers. I'm a first-time writer, and then I actually won one of the categories. So I was very excited. I am very elated, and it happened on a night when we were celebrating with our chocolate company employees. So I was able to share with them, and we had a very joyful moment, and I think it was inspiring to them at that time. So we were all happy, and my grandchildren were there, and Marcus was there, and all the factory employees. So we had a time, and it was great news, and I was very, very elated, as I said.
I'm particularly interested here in knowing, what do you believe gave you the edge? Because you did indicate that you were a first-time writer amongst the bigger writers, a small fish in a big pond. But what do you believe gave you that edge to emerge, to be able to emerge the winner?
Well, I think, again, it was the color. It was the excitement that the book presented in terms of all the visuals, all the images that could be there. And we had, for example, pictures of all Marshall's albums over the years, which mounted to about 50. And they were, very beautiful. They were very deep. So I think that whole different, it was a different look. It was a Caribbean look. It was a fresh look. And I think that is what caught their eyes. And then the story of Marshall's biography, which is extraordinary in the sense that he's 48 years of age and has been in the business for 41 of those years, and has been able to sort of maintain that longevity that, is not really always there among entertainers.
As a
Coming
first-time
from
author,
the Caribbean, the Caribbean is always excitement, so they just love the Caribbean.
I couldn't help but, as a first-time author, and I know you just mentioned the 40-plus years in the business, did you feel a moment of, when you were managing him back then, Too Young to Soca, the kind of success that was attained, similar to that now as a first-time author, putting that life experience out there? Any comparatives were made?
Well, I'm always excited by everything, no matter how small is it, so that in 1986, that excitement would have been just as great as now, because again, at that time, Marshall was 1 in a million, and he was really what you call a kind of enigma, because unknowing to the people, we never taught Marshall these things. Marshall always came up with his own ideas, and he was always saying, "Mommy, don't tell me because I'll get confused." And then we will sit there just as excited as the audience. And then when it happens, we share in that glory. Like I remember 1987 was a very big year for us. In 1987, Marshall was 12 years of age. And he became the first Trinidadian to ever win the Caribbean Song Festival. And when we heard it, boy, we jumped out of our seats, because here is a 12-year boy from Trinidad beating a number of professionals who came with their grand pianos, and they were 3 times his age, but he was able to capture that prize. And that was a great excitement. And everything presents itself to us. We are always humbled and always grateful, and sharing the same kind of excitement.
Yeah.
Right. Certainly, and we want to say commendations indeed, because you've done it here even with the book, just as you would have done with the man himself. But I can't have you in an interview like this and not ask about Marshall's reaction himself when he recognized that, just like his career, that the book would have stood out and stood supreme telling that story. What was Marshall's reaction to this?
Well, again, as I said, same thing. We are always excited. Like we are family that share each other's success. We are there when the times are good and when the times are bad. We are there for each other. Even for our grandchildren and for our daughter-in-law, and every time somebody secures a positive, we always celebrate. And Marshall is very happy because he was able to contribute to, like you'll hear his voice in the book, in terms of, I also interviewed him. So he is excited. And he's also saying, this book has a life. This book is going to live on because it tells the story of a young boy who was able to maintain a career, who started from basically nothing, and this was based on core values that were instilled in him. And I think that this also inspires him, and he's excited, as I said, and, he will hug and we will celebrate together all the time. And I think it is a very, very warm moment for us all.
All right. As we close here this morning, just remind our viewers, for those who are now hearing about the book, where can they find this book? Where can they access? Where can they purchase?
Okay, so in Trinidad, you could buy this book in all the main bookstores in Trinidad and Tobago. We have the book in Tobago. You can also buy it online, www.marshallmontano.com/shop. And then we also have it in Jamaica, because Jamaica was the place where I started my education in terms of university education. And it's the place where Marshall started his very first education at the age of 2. He went to school in Jamaica while Monty and I was studying there. And the book was also launched in Jamaica. So you can buy it in Jamaica in bookstores. And then you can buy it online. You can buy it in all our bookshops in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right.
Right. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for chatting with us this morning, Lady Elizabeth Montano. Always a pleasure, and all the best to you. Congratulations and all the best to you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to my sister Isle and the people there. I say morning and great day.
All right. Thank you very much again. And that's the author of The King of Soca, winning awards and titles. And certainly it lines up with the man himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Marshall Montano, really a successful career. And it's good, even going through the book, a gentle reminder of what he has been through in terms of that process and that understanding. It didn't just, happen by guess and putting in that effort. One of the things I could always appreciate about Marshall is that constant effort to recreate in terms of putting himself out there. Folks, if you didn't know, I'm a lover of soca music from long time. Lover of soca and calypso.
So certainly, Marshall Montano.
Certainly one of those things that I follow in terms of the entire entertainment industry. All right, but we got to leave it there for this morning. We're just out of time this morning, and we're preparing to head on into Tobago notes and also to head over to GMT this morning. Well, let me make sure I do a quicker shout out on the live. I see in the mix with us Godfrey Moore, Heather Cook, Eric Powder, Portia Charles, Julia Brown, Russell Morrison in the mix this morning. I see my cousin out there as well, Gilbert O'Connor Jr., all right, on providing that support. Laverne Price in the mix. Pearl Murray Beard, good morning to each and every one of you this morning.
And Julian, before we go, viewers, are you in need of car parts? Zurex Auto Limited, Branch Road, number 2, Glen Road, is your place to go. Walk in or call at 722-5746 or 280-5902. Zurex Auto for all your car part needs. Sale on all car parts now. So whatever it is, rims, chassis, hood. Come on, Julian, call it parts. Wipers, brakes, shocks, all your car part needs. Check out Zurex Auto. And as well, Dad's Auto Parts and Accessories on location at Clark Trace, Signal Hill, currently offering sale on all car parts. Dad's Auto Parts and Accessories is your neighborhood auto supply, from oils to batteries and everything in between. Dad's Auto is your go-to guy. Julian, you were supposed to give me, come on, what are the parts of the car?
Indeed, Rhea, indeed. I swear I didn't want to throw off your ad flow there at all.
My ad flow?
Didn't want to.
I was lost from rims.
It's never a dull moment here. Oswald George must be so proud. Never a dull moment here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We also want to thank you so much for your continued love and support and for continuing to choose Tobago Updates. All right, and at this point, we prepare to head on over to GMT, and just before that, we head on over to Tobago Notes.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning. Good morning.
It's a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly. ePixel Studios is open for business. It's Tobago's first animation studio, recently launched under the Eco-Industrial Development Company of Tobago, EIDCOT, at the Cove Eco-Industrial and Business Park. Starting out with 10 workstations and a handful of talented local animators, the studio is a milestone in EIDCOT's mission to diversify Tobago's economy via the creative sector.
Our animators are trained, experienced in the field, and are ready to learn more about expanding the digital creativity that Tobago can and will soon offer. Providing a wide range of services, including but not limited to 2D and 3D animation, character design, storyboarding and development, motion graphics, and illustration.
As we harness, curate, and invite others to enjoy our unique Tobagoan stories and perspective, we will, as content creators, not as consumers, participate in an animation industry that online statistics estimate is valued at about $391 billion worldwide.
We have now an avenue through which our Tobagonians, especially our young Tobagonians, can tell authentic Tobago stories to the rest of the world. Because the stories we have to tell also possess within them universal themes that the world can latch on to. And certainly we can provide solutions to world issues through the stories that we tell. And so I'm happy that after launching of Tobago Trek on January 19th, just 4 days short of 6 months since, we are able to today launch a studio through which generations, plural, generations current and future, can come to this space.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denise. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawn.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
The Tobago House of Assembly is seeking clearance to complete the Sherburne-Storby Local Connector Road in Friendship Estate. The court granted the Environment Management Agency an injunction to stop the construction of the road due to concerns about the Certificate of Environmental Clearance. The THA's attorney, Larry Lala, informed Justice Frank C. Prasad that the CEC application was submitted on July 17th. They are now awaiting EMA's approval to allow them to continue. The project is 90% complete and consists of a 2.5 single carriageway, 2 roundabouts, and a drainage system. Additionally, former Calypso monarch, Denise Plummer is alive and well, despite inaccurate reports on social media rumors. Her son, Jesse Bucock, confirmed her well-being and expressed disappointment with the media for spreading false information without verification from the family. Plummer is battling stage 4 cancer and undergoing treatment. And finally, the Maldives would no longer compete in the Commonwealth Youth Games, which will be held from August 4th to the 11th, 2023. This was revealed on Monday night by the country's Olympic Committee via a Facebook post calling the announcement regretful. The post said the country would no longer be participating due to financial constraints faced by the government and the Olympic Committee. However, the committee is still committed to developing and supporting local athletes. They will instead focus on the 2023 Indian Ocean Island Games. Trinidad and Tobago is currently preparing to host the Commonwealth Games. And that was the news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago, folks. And, today is a very commemorative day. It is July 27th, and it is the anniversary of the 1990 attempted coup, of which, the country of Trinidad and Tobago was under siege for 6 days. And we are starting off our conversations this morning in regards to that. Over the years, I think that the significance of that day, the importance of that day has gotten lost within our society. And, we forgot that at one point in time, our country was under threat. And, we don't realize how much of that trauma still exists within our society today. We don't understand how much that influences some of the things that are happening, whether it be crime, whether it be just how our society operates on a daily basis. A lot of it goes back to what happened in 1990. And, to give us a perspective on this, well, for one thing, I am actually just going to read a couple excerpts before we get into our conversation this morning with our guest. And this is from a book written by Mr. Dennis McComey. Now, and for those of you who are around during that time, you would know that Mr. Dennis McComey was a broadcast journalist. He was working with Radio 610 at the time. He was one of those journalists that were under siege as well. He was the one that was on the radio airwaves at that point in time, updating the public on what's happening when nobody knew exactly what's happening. And just, to read a little bit about just some of his experience. He said, obviously, we were still in shock. In just an hour, our whole world, as it were, was disintegrating. One moment, we were all deeply involved in our very important lives, and the next, all that had been taken for granted was wretched and jumbled. It was too fairly early into the nightmare, and all that we felt was fear of the entire situation and the urgent desire to survive. Wherever we were thought of our loved ones, and where we might have been, and whether or not they were safe, sounds and odors had changed immediately too. The crackle of flames, the sound of rapid gunfire, and the impact of explosions kept us on the edge and made the nightmare real. We were all shaken by the experience and exhausted from firefighting in the NBS building. Because viewers, of course, we know that our journalists at that point in time at TTT, in the radio stations, they were all affected by this. There were a lot of lives lost. And just so that you understand some of the people who have been forgotten and, who were innocently killed in this whole situation were SRP Solomon McLeod, who had volunteered to work the evening shift for a police colleague and became the first martyr on the 27th of July for the cause of TNT democracy. Assistant Superintendent Roger George, Estate Constable Malcolm Bastana, George Francis, chauffeur to Muriel Duana and McDavidson, Opposition PNM MP Walter Giuseppe, Customs and Excise Officer and former police officer Helen Lavia, Lorraine Caballero, the parliamentary clerk, whom the Jamaat shot in the stomach and laid out in the ground next to Mr. Wendell Eversley. He watched her groan and writhe in pain for 2 days until her death. The young lady who was sitting comfortably in the gallery of her house when a stray bullet instantly ended her life. The mother who sought to soothe her nerves on the morning following the terrors of the Friday evening by baking a cake and then retired to bed for a nap that lasted forever. The victim of a heart attack. The homeless man caught in the fierce crossfire. His bullet-riddled body lay lying for 6 days with the other murdered men before being unceremoniously dumped in the unmarked grave. Many others too, innocent victims, still unidentified, who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And of course, this is a reflection from Dennis McComey as well. I remember too, Honorable Leo Devines, MP, who bled to death even after being released to the care of medical personnel, and his wife, Jean Devines, once a bright light in TNT society, who chose to live like a recluse away from the society that had disappointed her. Mervyn Teague, whose camera continued to record the chilling scenes in Parliament even after he had been struck down by a bullet. I will never forget the former Minister of Justice and National Security, Selwyn Richardson, who was brutally murdered in the driveway of his house on 20th June 1995 by unknown assailants on orders, it is said, from persons unknown. And of course, Mr. Selwyn Richardson was one of those that was beaten in the house that took a lot of abuse during that time. And ultimately, we know that our then Prime Minister, Mr. A.N.R. Robinson, there we have Mr. Raoul Panton and several of the others who were kept captive in TTT for 6 days. For 6 days. This happened in Trinidad and Tobago. And, we always need to remember these things because it's only through remembering the past that you could prevent future things like this from happening. A few weeks ago, we had a number of people likening the situation here that's happening in Tobago, describing it as an administrative coup. Now, the chances of something exactly like this happening again, perhaps very slim, because we no longer have just one media house in terms of television. It's not that easy to control the media. Well, I mean, that might be debatable. But anyways, in the same way that, the Jamaat al-Muslimin were able to storm TTT and take control of the airways, that may not happen in the same way. But we are always at risk of something happening. And we always need to be aware. So, joining me just to even discuss some of these events, we have Mr. Umar Abdullah, who is joining us online. And good morning to you, sir. How are you doing?
Greetings to you and greetings to all your viewers and listeners.
All right, now,
Thanks for having
Mr.
me.
Abdullah, I just would like for you to give me just a sense of when you look back at 1990, what comes to your mind?
I actually don't know where to start. There's so many things. But I would start from the 31st anniversary of the attempted coup that took place here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I remember on that particular day, I would have sought permission from the then Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, to approach the Red House in my Muslim garb holding the national flag to deliver a letter to the Prime Minister and parliamentarians um, on the issue of the situation that was happening around the COVID and the lockdowns and so on and so forth. And we had some information to share with the parliamentarians and the Prime Minister. And we were asking them to look at the evidence and to look at the science as regards to the issues surrounding COVID and the right approach in terms of treatment, protocols, and so on. And I did that because I wanted to believe that after 31 years, there was a lot that we would have learned, and there was a lot of healing that took place to the point where after 31 years, a Muslim man dressed again in Muslim clothing approached the Red House. But this time, it was to extend an olive branch. And it was a mission of peace and a mission to extend to the entire Trinidad and Tobago that we as a people have learnt our lessons, and we as a people have grown and have accepted our faith and have decided to forgive. And I think that was the most important thing that came out that day. I had the full support of the police. They marched with me from Mover Junction to the Red House. It was widely televised and carried on social media. And I did deliver a speech there at the gates of the Red House as well. Now, after 31 years, for a Muslim to do that in Trinidad and Tobago, after all you would have just read, and reminded the nation of the horrors that took place during those 6 days, it shows us as a people how resilient we are, how beautiful a people we are, and how, Trinidadians and Tobagoans, we are always willing to cooperate and move forward for the better of this country. And one of the things I remember you said earlier in the program, when you was, reading that bit from the book, you indicated that, we took many things for granted.
Yes.
All right. And it shows us clearly that what we take for granted today, it's not only the people of the country has to recognize that, but we also have to indicate to our government and to our leaders that there are things that people take for granted in this country. Mm-hmm. And perhaps as a government and as leaders in our society, we need to protect those things that people take for granted. And if we don't protect it, perhaps might come a time, and Almighty God forbid, that this happen in Trinidad and Tobago again. Mm-hmm. Because someone, somewhere, may want to call the government and our leaders to account for some of the things that they're perhaps doing, decisions that they're making, that is affecting the lives of the citizens of this country, that is interfering with our democracy and interfering with our sovereignty in a way that we are at the brink of losing it. And I think that's the most important lesson coming out of the 1990. Of course, there are many others as well.
Yes.
We saw a drastic turnaround in the dynamics of our politics after 1990. There was a deliberate attempt by our politicians to fix what was broken, and they made many attempts, and there was history in the making when we saw political parties coming together and on a united front to vie for a general election. And we saw the success of that and the success that it brought, ousting a government that held the reins of power for so many years in Trinidad and Tobago. And these are some of the dynamic changes that took place. And I guess amongst the politicians themselves, they would have probably started looking differently at the way they govern and at the way they engage the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Some may disagree and say they have not learned a lesson, but I would want to differ and indicate that yes, they did, and some of these lessons were expensive in its own way, but at the end of the day, when any political leader or any politician or any leader in our country, whether it be within the political arena or the religious arena or the private civil society arena, whatever it be, we have to recognize as leaders that we have to do one thing, and that is listen to the noise, listen to the people, listen what they're saying, because somewhere along the line, if we don't listen and we don't hear and we don't understand what the people are saying, we may be very well head into that very same situation that took place in 1990, which we definitely do not want to see the face of in Trinidad and Tobago again.
Now, do you think that the government cares? Because when I ask this question, coming from the cries over the years, I read out some of the people that were lost. There are many more. I don't think that as a country we know how many lives were lost or how many people remain affected, remain injured. And we really don't know, because that information just never came out, or there was never any serious, other than the commission of inquiry into the incident, there was never a serious try to see exactly what was the impact on our people and who is still living with the trauma. What are the families? How are they existing? Other than the attempts of us journalists, going back every year, speaking to those affected, that seems to be the only time that we know or we have any inkling. The Prime Minister spoke this morning on another frequency, and I mean, he said that if the case comes up, he could his government is willing to treat with compensation, but he never gave any real commitment. He never even gave any made any real decision to say, as a country, let's remember this day and let's use it as an instruction for us to pay attention to what we have in like what you said, not take things for granted and understand that we need to protect our democracy at all costs, because when we don't, we have our people out there suffering.
Yes, exactly. And even though we had the commission of inquiry, the main author of the event never presented himself and made any statements or the case may be. So it's an untold story that I think journalists like yourself ought to consider pursuing in actually getting the stories from those persons who, were the unseen, persons who this situation affected in ways and means that would have changed their lives forever, changed the way they look at life, changed the way they live in Trinidad and Tobago. We often say, in Trinidad and Tobago, there's a saying that, God is a Trini. This certainly needs to be relooked at in terms of, what would have happened in 1990, and would God continue to be a Trini if our governments and our leaders continue to not listen to the people in Trinidad and Tobago? This is a serious issue, and we have to take it for what it is. I myself would have had my experiences during the 1990 Six-Day Affair. I was a new member of the Jamaat al-Muslimin. Wasn't there in for long. And I would have had some experiences that would have changed my life forever. And people who follow my story and who follow what I do would actually see that and how it affected my life and my
And Mr.
transition from
Abdullah, could you give us an idea of what was your experience and how did it change your life for those who may be watching and do not know?
well, let me begin by saying before I had joined with the Jamaat al-Muslimin back in 1989, I was an atheist. I never believed that there was an almighty God, that there was a supreme being. And even though I was born in a Muslim home and I carried out the tenets of Islam and the religious duties and so on, you would have seen me attending the masjid and so on, because I was born in a strict Islamic home. And I had to do those things. And as I grew older, I started to realize and look around me and see the decadence that was surrounding me as a youth growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, and looking at my grim and glim future. I decided at the age of 13, when I was 13 years old, to form a youth drive initiative, which is an organization that was geared towards bringing about good in a society and fighting for the rights and privileges of, human beings, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And I always, even though I didn't believe that there was a God, I always felt that there was goodness. And you needed to be good. You needed to be kind. You needed to be generous. You needed to, help one another. You needed to support one another. And this is one of the reasons why the organization was formed. And I continued with that idea in my mind. And when I was introduced to Jamaat al-Muslimin, it was told to me that this group actually has the same ideology that you have. Even that was not convincing enough for me to believe in the Almighty God. It's a personal something that took place in my life, which I don't want to go in here on while I'm in this interview. But that particular incident changed my life forever and made me to understand that there is a supreme being. And I made a pledge once I would have gotten myself out of that situation, because it was a situation that really had me scared. And once I made that promise, once I get myself out of that, and I, raised my hand and, said a prayer, and I said to whatever, supreme being that there is, if there is one, please help me out of this. And it so happened that I was free of that situation. And I made a promise that I would be a trusted servant for the rest of my life, worshiping and obeying Almighty God. And that is where the journey all started. And when I became part of Jamaat al-Muslimin, I thought that being part of that organization would have brought me closer to that objective that I have in bringing about peace and unity and love within the Trinidad and Tobago space. And, when the incident took place, we had no idea. I had actually, with my radical views at the time, moved out from my mother's home, and I was actually staying and living in the masjid. And there were different branches of the Jamaat al-Muslimin at that time. And we were in the Tablan district at the time, where we had established a masjid there. And I was staying in that masjid when the incident took place. And remember very vividly that we had no idea that this was about to hit Trinidad and Tobago. The upper hierarchy of the Jamaat al-Muslimin had made that decision, and they had, a specific purpose in mind and a specific, course of action that they would have, charted out. And the rest of the Jamaat al-Muslimin, the general membership, had no idea that this was actually going to happen. We were informed just like everybody else when he overtook the control of the PTT, and he came on television and said that the government has been overthrown. And at that point in time, we knew that it was not going to be, easy after that. And, we had to scramble and put things in place to protect ourselves and to try to understand what was exactly happening, try to make communication and contact with a number of persons who were in the upper levels of the administration and so on. I remember Saturday, we had gone to the compound of Jamaat al-Muslimin, myself and 3 other brothers. And when we got there, we were greeted by soldiers. We thought that the soldiers dressed in Tamu were members of the Jamaat al-Muslimin and they were protecting the compound. That is actually what we had thought. But it is actually the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force that was actually had taken control of the compound. And they came out and, met with us. And they were actually going to kill us. They lined us up and they were going to kill us on the compound that Saturday morning. And I remember the commander who was in charge of the operations there, the Jamaat al-Muslimin compound, came out and had a conversation with us. And he told us he's going to give us a chance and he's going to allow us to live, and he don't want to see us ever in any masjid or out in the streets, because remember, they were now putting in place the curfew situation and so on, because this is just Friday the incident took place, and we were allowed to leave. So, we were prepared to die on that day. And, we were prepared to accept that we were dying for a cause, and we were dying for something that was good, because as we were told in the beginning that, this was a response to government, oppressive behavior to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And there were a lot of things that took place at that time. A number of Trinidadians and Tobagonians that were not aware and are not prepared to go into details in those issues here on this program. But persons who really, really want to know the truth about what took place and what caused and led up that situation to happen, it would be good of you to speak to the authors of that incident or that event, and persons who were directly involved in some way or the other, like myself and so on. I mean, I was not directly involved in the planning and executing of that event. We had no idea at all. All right. Even one of the major heads that was in Rio Claro at the time, he too also had no idea that this event was going to happen. So it was just amongst key stakeholders within the organization, and I guess they had their things planned out and how they were going to execute and how they were going to get out of it. But it all took a different turn, and there are lessons in that too as well for us to learn, and in our approaches and how we respond. And that is why over the years, leaving the radical side, I've learned a lot that radicalism is not always the way that would be good to use to address any situation. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that having dialogue and having peaceful conversation and responding in a manner that does not poke at people, does not aggravate persons and that sort of thing, is always, you get a better response and you get better results. And so I've moved away from that radical stance that I would have had in the past. And everybody who knows me knows how I was and where I have been and where I'm at today. Presently, right now, I'm in a peaceful protest in front of the Ministry of Education. Every day we have been there since the 23rd of June. Yeah.
Yes, and I want to get into that, but I know we have to go for a break. But just before we go to a break, and we come back and we'll actually address that matter for that protest. I want to know from you, what does democracy mean to you now after everything that has happened, and take into context 1990? What does democracy for Trinidad and Tobago mean for you as a citizen?
Democracy for me, now, first of all, I want to put it outside there very clearly. I'm a Muslim, and Islam does not ascribe to democracy as a political solution. All right, but democracy is what it is we have as a people. And in democracy, there's one thing that every single human being holds on to, and that is the power of the people, the right of the people, the right to be heard, the right to speak, the right to live with a type of freedom that allows for the positive growth and development of a people. And because of this, I think it is highly important that we try at our best to preserve that. Because if it's one thing that's going to get us from a good place which we are in already to an excellent place which is where we want to be, it is that platform of democracy. And I don't think there's any other platform that is going to provide that avenue for us to move or to transcend from one position to the other. And that is what I think of democracy. And I trust my children with what we understand as true democracy. I trust the future of our infrastructure, the future of job opportunities for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the future of agriculture and food security. I trust all of that in the hands of what true democracy, what our founding father, Eric William, would have mounted a platform and explained to the people of Trinidad and Tobago what democracy is. And I think if it is, we can somehow, ask our leaders, ask our governments, our political parties to consider that and see what they can do to bring it back to that point. We will be very, very grateful as a people. I individually would be thoroughly grateful for that. And I think once we're back at that point, because I don't think that democracy that we have existing today is what Eric Williams would have taught us about. So we need to go back there. And I think once we're in that space, I think Trinidad and Tobago is going to be a beacon for the rest of the world, not just for the region, but for the rest of the world.
All right. Well, Ms. Abdullah, we're going to have to take a pause there. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversations. And we're going to switch things up a little bit. And we're talking about another issue that Mr. Abdullah has been leading within the space of Trinidad and Tobago, which is important in the context of democracy as well. So we're going to get into that when we come back after this break.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
Come one, come all. It's time to join in the Tobago Heritage Festival 2023. Homage. All are we and all are who we be.
To Tobago.
Indulge in the awesomeness that is embodied in the spirit of Tobago at the 36th Tobago Heritage Festival. Celebrate a rich, vibrant, hypnotic showcase of our cultural legacy. Yes, from July 21st to August 1st, 2023. Take the island tour. Sample the sumptuous variety of local indigenous delicacies. Enjoy the recreation of old-time village life. Dance to the drum. Feel the rhythm of steel pan. Experience the way of life, languages, and oral traditions. Be part of the journey to our we heritage, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and inspiring our future. Relive our unique culture. Join in the preservation of the heritage of we island of Tobago.
Are you flood ready? Review and update insurance coverage. Install floodgates and barriers. Create a family flood plan. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATL, where people are people.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience, offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and low, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and low. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are speaking with Mr. Umar Abdullah, who is the head of the First Wave movement. And, one of the things that Mr. Abdullah has been leading within the space, I don't know if you've been paying attention, are these peaceful protests in regards to what's happening within our education system. And it is also in protest towards a conspiracy to corrupt the nation's children. So, Mr. Abdullah, could you just give us an idea of exactly what do you mean when you are speaking about these things? Your tagline for these protests is "Not my children."
Right. I just want to make one correction, though. You said conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy.
Okay.
It's actually happening. And we have the evidence that is in fact happening in our schools presently. It is the intention of the Ministry of Education to introduce certain dangerous ideologies and indoctrination into our nation's schools. And we have been speaking to that issue since the 23rd of June. And we, today is going to be 35 days that we are going to be in front of the Ministry of Education there in St. Vincent Street in Port of Spain. It's a silent protest. We've informed the Commissioner of Police, so our presence there, and our presence are going to be continued until the Minister does respond to our letter, which we had written on the 23rd of June. We have written another letter, which I'm going to dispatch today, which is asking for an update on that letter that we would have written, what sort of response we would get, etc. We are just asking, with a follow-up letter, reminding her that we had written a letter to her, and we need to get a response on that letter. Not even an acknowledgement letter would we have received. However, they did indicate, by informing the security personnel at the building, that they would have received the letter because it was also hand-delivered, and they have it on the desk for consideration. So what exactly does that mean? We're not sure, right? So what we are saying is that, we are raising an alarm, and we are warning parents and teachers, educators, in Trinidad and Tobago, that all these incidences that we're seeing on a global scale, what is happening internationally in the different schools in Maryland and America, and we're getting reports back here in Trinidad and Tobago. This is what's happening in those primary schools. These are the kind of books that they're introducing into the schools and so on and so forth. They are reading all of them from the same playbook, right? Which is a manual that was published by UNICEF, Child Friendly School Initiative. And we have in Tobago presently, they have piloted that project where they have 12 schools that are already selected in Tobago under that particular program. When the Minister of Education was asked about inclusivity, she said inclusivity in the broader sense of the word. Now, we would have been on a number of platforms, Zoom meetings and so on, with a number of stakeholders, and they all seem to be talking about disabled children and the less privileged children and so on. But none of them are talking about what she referred to, inclusivity in the broader sense of the word. And she added and coined the term psychosocial disability. What exactly is psychosocial disability? Anyone hearing that will automatically think it has to do with some sort of mental disorder. So are we saying that you are going to include certain aspects within our education system that is deemed a mental disorder by all definition? As we know, there are a number of disorders that was listed on the American Psychiatric Association, and if you look at that list, you would definitely see some of these cases there. All we are saying is that we don't want that type of ideology, those harmful ideologies into our schools. Let our children decide when they become adults what they want to be, or what they what sort of lifestyle they want to pursue. And even at that point in time, there is discussion with parents and different stakeholders to advise young people in making decisions. We have the United Nations and the WHO coming out clearly in a report indicating that they are, promoting or proposing sexual partners for children as early as 2 years old. And, and they have different age brackets as to what children ought to be practicing and doing at that age bracket. And we have issues such as masturbation and having sexual intercourse and so on and so forth, all well under the age of consent here in Trinidad and Tobago. So we are asking for definitive answers to these questions. We know for a fact that this country is signatory to a treaty called the Montevideo Consensus, which was signed back in 2013 by the last administration, which is the UNC government. And there was some reporting on it in 2017 and 2022. And guess what? In that reporting, we are at 100% policy framework, right? So 100% policy framework is in place already for this type of ideology. And the 52% of the curriculum, they have introduced 52% of it in the curriculum in Trinidad and Tobago already. And that's the last reporting, 2017-2022. All right. There's another reporting has to come forward in 2023. We would have had this present administration, the Minister of Planning and Development then, Penelope Bickles, would have met with the United Nations Population Fund back in 2022. The same time that the IPPF, the International Pan-Parental Federation, would have set up their regional office here, and the United Nations Population Fund heavily funds the IPPF, and that's one of the main direction of the IPPF is to introduce into the schools comprehensive sexuality education. And all we are saying is that we are saying no to this, and we want to protect our children. And there are a number of other issues as well, like, for instance, the signing of the International Pandemic Accord, which the Prime Minister have already given his nod to do. And what we are saying is that, and since we're on the topic of democracy, that International Pandemic Accord is going to erase our democracy and our sovereignty. We're going to give total autonomy to the WHO as regards to our health, our climate, and our crime here in Trinidad and Tobago. So, and we have to understand and keep in mind that the WHO is not an elected body. The head of the WHO is not an elected official or has been elected. So these are private entities. And we have a democracy here where we have elected officials. And by all measure, our elected official has to consult with the people before they sign these types of agreements that is going to affect the lives of our citizens in this country. And if there was no consultation, then there's a question of whether or not these agreements and these arrangements with those international bodies are legitimate, and if it is not, null and void. So the people of Trinidad and Tobago continuously has to be reminded of the power that they have before we lose it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
and
Mr.
that was yeah.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Abdullah, and I want to thank you so much for sharing those concerns. But unfortunately, we are basically out of time. But I really appreciate you being here and sharing that. All right. And as we go, viewers, I just want to read a little bit. I mean, as Mr. Abdullah touched on democracy, and which is something we really needed to pay attention here in Trinidad and Tobago, even as we remember the July 27, 1990 coup. I want to just read a few words from Dr. Eric Williams on the occasion of the 31st of August as to what democracy means. And he said, democracy at home and abroad, the symbol of it is our parliament. Remember, fellow citizens, we now have a parliament. We no longer have the colonial assemblies, which did not have the full rights of a parliament of a sovereign country. The very name parliament testifies to our new independent status. By that same token, however, we at once became the object of comparison with any other parliamentary countries inside and outside the Commonwealth. This is a consideration which involves not only the members of parliament, but also the individual citizen. The members of parliament have the traditional parliamentary privileges guaranteed by in the Constitution. The Speaker, the symbol of the power of parliament, and its status guaranteed in the order of precedence. We shall soon have the privileges built, protecting and prescribing the powers of Parliament itself. Measures are being taken to establish the responsibility of Parliament in the field of external relations. The Constitution recognizes the position of the leader of the opposition. The normal parliamentary conventions of consultation between government and opposition are being steadily developed and expanded. The Constitution itself, independence itself, represents the agreement of two political parties on the fundamental question of national unity. The ordinary citizen must recognize the role of Parliament, whom he may like or dislike, and respect that must be accorded to the same member of Parliament ex officio. I call on all citizens from now on to the accord to the highest respect of our parliament system and the institutions and to our parliament itself. Democracy finally rests on the higher power than parliament. It rests on an informed and alert public opinion. The members of parliament are only the representatives of the citizens. They cannot represent apathy and indifference. They can play the part allotted to them only if they represent intelligence and public spiritedness. Nothing has so demonstrated. All right, and I'll just kind of stop there. But these are the words of our first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, as we think about democracy. And again, I just want to thank you, Mr. Abdullah. All of our conversations this morning spoke to that, and it's such an important thing to remember as we remember 1990.
Yeah.
All right, viewers, and that's how we're going to end our program this morning. Thank you for being with us. It was such a privilege being here. And just stay tuned. We got news coming up at 6:30 this evening, so you don't want to miss that, as well as all the other programs throughout the day.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the sky.